Today, we have a couple bits of Mass Effect news. We're going to be talking about the TV show and another job listing. So let's jump into it. So, here we have our favorite BioWare careers page, a place I have spent lots of time over the last few years. Um, Talking about this, I think is interesting. I enjoy this process leading up to a game going into full production and eventually launching. I did it with the Division 2. We're doing it now with Mass Effect 5. So here we are. We scroll down and we have two job listings under join our team. We have talked about the lead level designer already. That was posted a few weeks ago. But I assume today or yesterday, I'm recording this on August 26th, is this principal level designer job. Now, if we dive into this a little bit, we have it listed here. It has all the same locations as normal. I assume this is mostly meant for the Edmonton office. I doubt, it doesn't even mention the Austin one. It does specify here EA Studios, BioWare, that it's a hybrid job. This is just the kind of general BioWare spiel, but here we have the job description. It says, we are looking for a world-class principal level designer. You will use your creative, technical, and single-player expertise to provide direct examples of the highest quality design for the team to follow, both technically and creatively, and to inspire aspirational goals. Reporting to the game director, I believe that should be Mike Gamble, you will work on with an experienced level design team guiding this group as they prototype, implement, polish, and debug their spaces. We are considering on-site and hybrid working options for candidates. That last bit is kind of interesting because EA has gone pretty big into return to office culture, but the fact that it's still this is a brand new job listing, they're still considering hybrid is really cool and hopeful. Then we get to the responsibilities here. It says develop gold standard missions and levels that exemplify Mass Effect's creative vision and core pillars. Collaborate with the team on the narrative, gameplay, and novel experiences that define Mass Effect. You will work with your creative partners to outline the gameplay experience, experiment with design features to identify opportunities and define best practices, meet with the team to mentor, motivate, and strengthen best practices and examples in level design, work with your production to identify asset dependencies, scope, and delivery of schedules, review your content and provide feedback, and you will use external player feedback to iterate and find solutions to friction points. That last bit is kind of interesting because that suggests that they will do some kind of player input, whether it will be like in-house or even contracted testing services. That's fairly common, or if they'll do another program kind of like what they did either with Dragon Age of the Veilguard, where they had like a team of content creators they collaborated with, or if they're just going to do some kind of gameplay testing on top of that. The mentions of Mass Effect in here, there's only two, but it's more than normal actually when these listings tend to be extremely vague. I would say this looks like the most specific one they've posted. I also assume this being a job that reports directly to the game director, they just kind of have to be more specific because they're looking for someone who is a bit more experienced than maybe their typical applicant. So here the qualifications are 6 years of level design work with level design experience on at least 2 AAA titles, experiential and narrative flow through a level, creating evocative spaces and iconic moments, experience with block meshing and scripting languages, Unreal expertise is critical. So if there was any question on whether or not they were going to be using Unreal Engine, I feel like that's pretty much squashed at this point. And then experience with the creative and technical leads to identify pipeline and design improvements. Overall, I don't think anything crazy here, but still, I think an interesting tidbit. I've been predicting for a while that 2025 would be the beginning of full production on the next Mass Effect game, and I still feel that way. This isn't the big influx of job applications and job openings at BioWare I would expect before they do, a full production announcement or something like that. Even Mark Dara had talked about in the video a few months ago that BioWare just isn't big enough to do full production on their own, and that either they would have to hire up significantly or they'll use co-developers. We have that looming date of October 10th for the Battlefield 6 game to be coming out, and I've been predicting for a while that I suspect they're going to ramp up hiring at BioWare to get that team somewhat larger than it currently is. I believe the current guesstimates are around 100 to 150 people are there. And on top of that, we may see them grow to 200, 250, but then also use co-dev studios. I think the model that Battlefield 6 is showing is very likely going to be what they do with the next Mass Effect. I don't know if they'll use any of those studios. Criterion recently rebranded as a Battlefield studio. We know Ripple Effect is a Battlefield studio. DICE obviously is as well. But the fourth studio is EA Motive, who's currently making the Iron Man game and co-deving on Battlefield. I could 100% see Battlefield 6 come out, then pull back from that, focus on Iron Man, and then also have a co-dev team there that would help out with the next Mass Effect. I would say that's almost a certainty, but it's mostly just gut checks and speculation. We do have one more bit of news to talk about with Mass Effect this week, right here. Okay, so over here on the social medias, we have a post here by Mass Effect News reporting on something that was posted on the Mass Effect subreddit over on Reddit. And it talks about how the Mass Effect TV series is set to film in Q4 of 2026. So I believe October of next year. The actual post here is kind of interesting. It has the same synopsis as we always had. It does have the same people associated with it. The story it's presuming is going to be basically retelling Mass Effect 1. The people connected to it, this is where it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but none of this is new. But the whole idea here is that there is a tentative filming begin date of Q4 of next year. Getting back into the conversation of who's associated with this, there's some good, especially the fact that we're under the impression that some of the same assets that have worked on the Fallout show for Amazon will be connected to this. So hopefully, at least when it comes to CGI and set designs and all of that stuff, that will look great. The actual people, like the producers, Krimzrek has some decent connections. They've been involved with the TV shows and movies that were at least pretty good or okay. Ari Arad, and note that this the producer of this, the company is Arad Productions. I believe it's either Ari's company or his dad's. Ari Arad is connected to some terrible projects. Maybe he's just waiting for the one to come and that looks great. But I understand the concern with him being involved, most recently being Borderlands, which is one of the most panned gaming kind of movies that we've ever had. Mike Gamble is on there, doing the cool game director thing. MEU, I looked her up. She's an actress, but has done some production, got some production credits recently. Writer producer Daniel Casey is someone who I actually have reached out to recently to potentially do eventually a podcast or interview with. And then the showrunner Doug Young, I actually believe that that's a pretty positive one there. We'll see. Obviously everyone's all up in arms about the potential of retelling Mass Effect 1. I understand, especially from a fan perspective, that people want them to do something original or a prequel or just to do something different. I personally would prefer them do something that will try to connect 3 to the next game and I guess Andromeda to the next game, but that might be asking too much. I also don't think it's crazy for them to redo Mass Effect 1 to tell that story, because as I've said before, and I'm going to say it a million more times over the next 3 or 4 years, they need to try to remind people what Mass Effect is or educate people new in the first place. Because the simple fact is that, it's been a long time since Mass Effect 1 came out. It's been a long time since Mass Effect 3 came out. It's even been kind of a long time since Andromeda came out. And the simple fact is that a lot of people, especially younger folks, have never even heard of Mass Effect, or only have from the Legendary Edition or something, with a game that still looked pretty old, that still played pretty old, especially Mass Effect 1. This is going to be one of those opportunities to bring people into the universe, into the IP, into the franchise, which is something that will be absolutely essential for the next game to be successful. And it's something they completely failed to do with Dragon Age the Veilguard. That mostly wraps it up. I think the hiring thing is cool for me with Mass Effect 5. I've basically said that any news is good news. Any news that isn't layoffs is good news, or shuttering BioWare or whatever. So I see that as a good thing. I really would want to see 5, 10 plus listings for jobs and stuff on there before I'm ready to be like, oh, they're ramping up for full production. Obviously hiring two extremely senior level design folks in the last month or so, it seems like they're moving in that direction. I'm not quite ready yet to be like, oh yeah, it's happening. I still think that in the next couple months before we have like an N7 day, they could do that. They could start ramping up and announce some kind of full production. Again, we have to remember that we aren't in the situation with the next with BioWare where they aren't working on the next Dragon Age as well in the background with like a small development team. As far as we can tell, and what we've heard from Jason Schreier and lots of other folks, is that BioWare is a Mass Effect studio right now, and the next game is probably their full focus because there's probably some pretty large implications for them on how that goes. So keep an eye out. If you see anything, if you know anything, hit me up. I am very discreet about things. So if you're a dev or someone in the know and there's an info you want to be out there, I'm happy to talk about it as long as I can vet things. So there's all kinds of ways to contact me. Social media is a good one. I have my email address listed everywhere, including on YouTube. So hit me up there. I'd be very curious to see where things are currently at. If you want more Mass Effect news or just gaming news and speculation in general, hit that subscribe button and get subscribed to the channel. Hit the thumbs up so more people see the video. And if you really want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a YouTube member. You get videos just like this one a bit early and a few other perks that are nice as well. If you want to see the other content I'm currently making, like podcasts and so on, check out the links in the description of the video. And that's also where you can find other ways to support me. That's all I have for this one. So until next time.